Elisabete? Ok, Elisabete, por favor. Se quiser sentar ali.
Está comendo um pedaço ali. Ok. Bem, boa tarde a todos. Eu queria agradecer o convite dos colegas aí de Harvard para participar desse evento incrível, cheio de estudantes, arquitetos e pessoal que está organizando o evento. Como nos foi pedido, nós temos por obrigação de fazer a palestra em inglês, então, como são 10 minutos, eu vou mostrar para vocês a experiência desenvolvida em São Paulo. Okay. Well, nowadays, architects and urbanists, everybody, and those interested in the contemporary city have an important change, in my opinion, especially in Brazil, which is the construction of the urban thinking of the 21st century, a demand of the 20th century postmodern urban planning. Urbanism and the 21st century parts the real existing city knowledge. That is where it outsails the modern urban planning that draw on the non-existent area. The city of the 21st century is a territory of the differences, when its dwellings are manifold in that, some with many while others with fewer infrastructure, and there are still those with no infrastructure at all, as you visit tomorrow with the Thomas excursion to the barrios. On the other hand, all territories find themselves in need to face common challenge, protect the environment in all its dimensions, urban mobility, citizen participation in public decision, and the protection of the memory and cultural identity. The city of the 21st century is a mosaic of different cultures and groups, where there is no room for a single tool, urban planning, or, as defined the Argan, there is no urban planning of the category imperative, as the modern urban plan. To contribute to the debate of the landscape as urbanism, I bring here the experience of slump grading in São Paulo, that I think it's a good practice that can serve as a reference for the whole city facing the challenge of urban precariousness in the territory. On this point, it's important that we are aware of the dimension of the so-called informal city in São Paulo. Not without first keeping in mind that the city can no longer be called informal. It is just a different city. São Paulo has about 1,500 slums, the yellow groups, 100 irregular settlements, and 2,000 cortiços. Cortiços is slum tenements in the central area. It means 3 million people living in poor and precarious conditions. And these people occupy 136 square kilometers in a city that has 1,500 square kilometers. That is, 30% of the city population, densely and vertically, lives in less than 10% of the territory of São Paulo. Nonetheless, some authors hold to the poor the responsibility for the pollution of water, the crimes, and the crimes, and etc. Why would the settlements cause such impact in face of such an insignificant number regarding land occupation? Why have they been always highlighted on the front pages of the newspapers and magazines that seem to have a special interest in presenting the on-fire slums at risk areas? What is the problem of the precarious settlements in Brazil and in your cities? The Favela Observatory website enables us to understand why we have this adversity in relation to informal settlements in our cities. These dwellers have been a cause of concern because they have not obeyed the normal codes of land and zoning, but issued cast instead if the existing codes are really the best. The precarious settlement get hold of the public or private land, which may also be a subject of discussion. The characteristics are responsible for the favelas, settlement, and cortiços are always linked to absence, shortness, and homogeneity. Partly, most people who work or intend to work in these areas and to make projects there think that they will complete a design for a homogeneous world, that an area in Paraisópolis is equal to one in Heliópolis, as well in São Francisco, and so on. This is a barrier that must be eliminated. And the most important lesson to be learned is that settlements do not represent the idealized model for urban planners and architects, and thus, in order to make good designs and plans, it is necessary to break this idea. What favelas here in the idea, in the collective idea. It's important to understand that when we make plans and projects for the informal city, we are not working with areas where people have no history, no social networks, no pre-existence, nothing. The differences in having more or less access to services and equipment. This is vital because sometimes people speak of the poorest parts of the city as an apartheid place, segregated suburbs, and that is not the case at all. The pre-existence are the results of collective efforts from the people who have built and project what may not appear at first glance. I will show an example. This is the idea of the urbanism in the 21st century. It's the methodology to plan is this. The people occupy, after these people construct your houses, so the government will implement services and basic infrastructure, and the last time we plan these areas. The idea of these projects when we invite architects and urbanists to work, the mainstream of the project is to reinforce a sense of identity of these areas and of creating roots in the place you live in. So, of course, we implement infrastructure, the first challenge. The second is to build the public space with quality. It's very important to reinforce the states of the city as a space of democratic coexistence. I will show one example that calls Cantinho do Céu. Cantinho do Céu takes part in a big project, a big program in São Paulo. The idea is to remove 150,000 people that live in buildings in Guarapiranga. This is the first idea. Of course, it's impossible. So we convince the people, the public ministry, that it's impossible to design, plan, etc., and maintain the people. So this is the example. Cantinho do Céu is in Bilhas, where 11,000 families live in. This is the area. It's a beautiful area in the reservoir. So it's, of course, it's impossible to remove these people from this area, and they don't agree with this. The architect did the initial plans. The architect is the Max Boldarini, and the idea is to create, remove people that occupy the 50 meters in the reservoir, and create a big park with all the infrastructure. We, in this 2008, we did an exercise with Harvard University, with the Christian Bergman teacher. The students did a lot of projects for this place, and the result is a very interesting book. Well, this is Cantinho do Céu before. You could see that people live, and the problem is the infrastructure. And so we put the infrastructure, and we created this limit that represented the limit is to the water is the park. A simple interventions, and to possibility people to leisure in water, look for the water, understand the importance of the protection of the environment. And so is the result of the work of the Max Boldarini. People discover the aquatic sports, etc. And you could see the barrier of the park. It's a work of an artist, Marcelo Genolfi. And people discover the importance of the exercise, look the beautiful environmental, etc. It's very simple, but we transformed totally this neighborhood in Bilhas Reservoir. Some examples of the design. And the second part is now in project. You could see the project. And the idea is to continue to implement the park. At the end of the work, I imagine that this is the third park in São Paulo with 300,000 square meters. It's very big. That's other information. It's okay. Thank you.
Obrigado, Elisabete. Eu chamar o Felipe agora, por favor.